Faithful, what's up? You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report live here on Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Thank you so much for being here with us, and no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we appreciate you for making our Niners coverage a part of your day. An absolutely stacked show on the docket for today, and we're glad to chop it up with all of you. We're talking Niners live here on the show, and there's certainly a lot to get to. It's a little bit of a slow portion during the offseason, but that has not stopped the talking points from coming to the horizon. Here's what we're discussing on today's show. Could the 49ers trade Trey Lance for Danielle Hunter? We're going to dive into that. 49ers roster projection, take a look at some breakout candidates, and is Brock Purdy a rising star? The NFL Players Association seems to think so, as they ranked him the #1 rising star in the National Football League. Before we take a look at all of that, let's get the comment section going here. How many games will San Francisco win in 2023? Let me know down in the comments. We'll start to give you some shout outs here in the early going. We have Antonio, Aaron, Larry, GM Evan Henders, Christopher, Nico, all chillin'. Losing Hope going 8. What's up, Losing Hope? Pat Ellsworth with 12. Bay Area season 17. My goodness. You think they're going 17-0? That would be a spectacle. Big Hurt with 12. Evan Henders, 15-1-1. You think there's a tie thrown in there? And 408 West, my San Francisco homie, saying, yo, should the Niners trade for Danielle Hunter? Give me a T for trade or a P for pass. Since he's come into the NFL, he has never had less than 6 sacks in a single season. So Danielle Hunter, pretty solid player, but would you trade Trey Lance for him? T for trade or P for pass? You can also get your votes in our live poll as well. Which player has the biggest breakout season this year? 48% Jordan Mason, 27% Drake Jackson, 21% Jair Brown, and 4% for Cleveland Ferrell. Back to your responses about Danielle Hunter here. Big Hurt, not for Trey. Pat Ellsworth said pass. Broderick Holdman said pass as well. Now, if you want to get featured on today's live show, there's a couple of ways for you to do that. Make sure you use the hashtag 49ers. Better yet, Super Chat to get your questions answered live here on the show. That is hashtag 49ers or Super Chat so that you can get involved with us and I can relay your questions, your comments, and your hot takes to the audience. Now, we don't have a Super Chat menu today because I've been doing so much NBA content and had to get out so much content today in general, but we're always down for a good old-fashioned Super Chat battle with a couple of other rival channels here at Chat Sports. So, on a recent Dallas Cowboys report, they did $300 in Super Chats. Seahawks today did $250. And here the 49ers report is at $0. If you want to donate to the show, we always appreciate it. And when you do send in a Super Chat, we will answer your questions first. If you're ready to start the show, hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. We're ready to talk some Niners here. We're going to do 4 or 5 segments on today's program. So sit back, enjoy it. We're going to go in depth, at length, about the San Francisco 49ers. So if you're ready to start the show, like the video right now. 118 people watching live with 33 likes. Can we get to 50 before we officially start? Make sure you smash that thumbs up icon, like the video. Broderick Coleman saying, what up, Chase? What's good, Broderick? How you doing today, my guy? Good to hear from you. Let's get the 50 likes here. We're 15 away with 120 people watching live. More likes that we get, more people who will come in, the bigger the party that this will be. So we're going to begin with talking about Danielle Hunter and whether or not the Niners should trade for him. An interesting trade rumor that I saw out there floating out on the internet, and there's some buzz behind Danielle Hunter getting dealt right now by the Minnesota Vikings. So let's begin with that. And again, if you're ready to start the show, make sure you like the video. The San Francisco 49ers report is officially underway, and the official show starts right now. We're talking some 49ers trade rumors on today's show. Could San Francisco trade for Danielle Hunter, who since coming into the NFL has never had less than 6 sacks? It makes sense from a need standpoint because I do believe that Nick Bosa needs some help. The Niners listed as a destination that makes sense for the Vikings edge rusher who's entering the final year of his contract, and because of that, plans to hold out from mandatory minicamp. Before we talk about this, because it does include a Trey Lance trade, today's 49ers report is presented by Manscaped. You can get 20% off and free shipping on the best men's grooming products by heading to manscaped.com/49ers. But make sure you use the promo code 49ers for that deal to apply. If you haven't heard already, it is smooth sack summer, my fellas. And when you're playing in the summer sun, make sure that you're Manscaped from your pubes to your bum. That's right. This is the summer to keep your balls cool while still looking hot with Manscaped. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming are making sure we all have a ball this summer. You see what I'm saying? By giving our pants partners everything they need to stay fresh. Dive headfirst into smooth sack summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping. Use our code 49ers. The Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 has everything you need to prepare that summer body. They have built the ultimate grooming bundle for your summer grooming. The Lawnmower 4.0 features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. And the Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor as well. New multi-function on-off switch that can engage with a travel lock, because if something starts buzzing in that travel bag, flight attendant might be like, what do you got in there? Manscaped.com/49ers, promo code 49ers. I'll put that link in the comments section and in the description of this video. So let's reset here. Danielle Hunter could be available on the trade block. His future uncertain with the Minnesota Vikings, in San Francisco listed as a destination for him. That makes a lot of sense for the Vikings edge rusher, and makes some sense, as I'm about to explain, for San Francisco. As for the latest on him, if you don't know the player, he's really talented. Planning to skip Vikings mandatory minicamp, entering the final year of his deal. He is set to earn a base salary of $4.9 million because last year, after a couple of injury-plagued seasons, his contract was restructured. More on Hunter. He's only 28 years old. He was a 2015 third-round pick out of LSU. 10.5 sacks in 2022. Has a lot of experience playing in a couple of defenses on a couple of different fronts. 4-3 than last year. Played in that 3-4 as an outside linebacker. Better as a traditional edge rusher like a Nick Bosa, though. 3-time Pro Bowler. A second-team All-Pro coming in 2018. Suffered a neck injury in 2020. Which caused him to miss the entire season. Of course, that's always a big concern. And then the following year, missed 7 games, or only played in 7 games, because of a pectoral injury, which is obviously really important for an edge rusher, an offensive lineman, because you're trying to use your chest to engage against blockers. Now, why are we discussing Danielle Hunter here on the program? I still believe that Nick Bosa needs some help. The last month of the season last year, he only tallied 1 sack, and while he had 18.5 in the regular season, he wasn't fresh in the playoffs, and that lack of pass rush was a problem for San Francisco. The jury is still out on Cleveland Ferrell, as well as Drake Jackson, and if Nick Bosa just gets a more legitimate edge rusher on the other side, then I think that makes his job easier, makes him more dominant, and it keeps him fresh when the games matter the most. So, should the Niners trade for Danielle Hunter? Let me know down in the comment section by giving me a T for trade or a P for pass. I want to hear from all of the faithful right now. Bleacher Report putting together the top trade packages for Danielle Hunter. And if he holds out of mandatory minicamp, obviously a fine does come with that. And here is that trade idea from BR. Niners receive Danielle Hunter, and the Minnesota Vikings, they get Trey Lance and a 2024 4th-round pick. Trey Lance grew up in Minnesota, went to North Dakota State, and with Trey Lance, he would have a little bit of a homecoming and an opportunity, maybe if the Vikings let Kirk Cousins go after this upcoming season, to reboot, restart his career and have an opportunity to fulfill those expectations of being that number 3 pick a couple of years ago and just have an opportunity to play football, which he doesn't have and won't have possibly with San Francisco. Hunter, over the last 4 years, a couple of those injury seasons for him because of the neck injury as well as that pec injury, but when he's right, when he's healthy, very solid player. It was good to see him return back to form in 2022 where he had those 10.5 sacks, was a Pro Bowl level player. In 2019, another really good campaign. What's crazy is that 2020, 2021, really the only seasons that he's been injured throughout his career, and his career stats, guy has been able to accumulate a lot of numbers, 378 tackles, 71 sacks since getting drafted out of LSU, 7 forced fumbles, and 85 tackles for loss. I don't really like him as a 3-4 outside linebacker, but for San Francisco, he wouldn't have to be that. He would be a pure edge rusher for the Niners on the other side with Nick Bosa. Now, if a trade for Danielle Hunter happens, if Trey Lance gets dealt at some point, whenever a monster move happens for the Niners, we cover it. That's why you got to subscribe. We cover the latest news and rumors, 49ers analysis, live shows and watch parties, daily interactive coverage, and we do shows every day. Hit that sub button right now. Romeo coming in with a $100 super chat during our live show. Donations like this make me realize that I have one of the best jobs in all of media. Romeo, what up, Niner gang? Why are the Vikings letting some really good guys go? This guy seems to have too much talent for them to drop. It doesn't make sense as they should be taking the season. Gotta go. Y'all have a great show. Romeo, we appreciate that. Vikings entering this phase in which they might rebuild a little bit. But speaking of Romeo's question, and Romeo will react more to that in our live show, let's get back to Danielle Hunter because Romeo asked, why are the Vikings giving up some of these quality players? Dalvin Cook, Danielle Hunter, they've reshuffled that roster. They let go of Kendricks as well, who's a really solid linebacker. Now, they might do this because they're resetting a little bit, understanding that they need to divert some of those financial resources to other areas and set themselves up for future success. And that's why they hit that little bit of a reset button. And maybe that's why they'd be interested in a Trey Lance, because they want to move on from Kirk Cousins, who's in the final year of his contract, because he hasn't moved the needle all that much as far as playoff level success goes. Now, why would the Niners trade Trey Lance? Kirk Cousins in the final year of his deal. And if the Niners aren't going to play Lance this year, could they just decide to stock up on their pass rush? Think about it. Trey Lance might not have an impact on this team in 2023. So edge rusher might become more paramount and more important than a backup quarterback in Lance and the future development of him when you're competing in the Super Bowl championship window. This is also a weakness for San Francisco when you look at their sack rates over the last several years. In 2022, they had a 7% sack rate. That was 15th in the NFL among 32 teams. In 2021, when they made it to the NFC Championship game, that sack rate was up to 8%. That was number 4 in the NFL. During that injury-plagued, awful, disastrous season after the Super Bowl in 2020, they ranked 24th. But you look at how important this statistic is. In 2019, when they did make it to the Super Bowl, they were number 2 in sack rate. In the previous 2 seasons, they weren't that good of a football team, right? 19th and 29th, respectively. And does it make a lot of sense to have Trey Lance on this roster if you're comfortable with Brock Purdy's elbow and you're comfortable with Sam Darnold, and let's say you have Brandon Allen as your third quarterback? Because when you look at Trey Lance's contract and the cap hit on the books the next 2 years, if you're not going to play him at all, there are no backup quarterbacks, really, who are making this much money from the cap hit, right? $9.3 million in 2023 and then $10.8 in 2024. Those numbers courtesy of Spotrac. And for an acquiring team, there are obviously some pluses and some negatives with Lance. Injuries are certainly a concern. Inexperience is also worrisome. 21 combined starts going back to his college days at North Dakota State with the Bison in 2019. He only played 1 game in 2020, his final season at North Dakota State because of those stupid COVID restrictions at the time. For NFL starts, accuracy mechanics remain a little bit of a concern, but why Lance is intriguing, right? He's a very gifted quarterback who Minnesota might look at as a guy who they can mold over the next few years. He just turned 23 years old, untapped potential and ability. How would he rank in the 2023 draft class? Like C.J. Stroud's off to a good start. I'm high on Bryce Young. I thought he should have been the #1 pick. Would Lance have gone third among those quarterbacks? Potentially. And he does have arm strength, mobility, and very good character, the latter of which important for a franchise quarterback. And does Kevin O'Connell believe that he can turn Trey Lance into a franchise quarterback? And if that's the case, he's a backup this year. They let Kirk Cousins walk, and then he becomes the eventual starter. So here's that trade once again from Bleacher Report here. Niners received Danielle Hunter. Vikings received Trey Lance and a 2024 fourth-round pick. Who wins this trade? Let me know down in the comments section here by typing SF or MIN. And if you want to interact with me on Twitter and Instagram, I've heard from so many of you over the last few days. You can find me there at Chase_Senior. And I have to give a shout out here to a guy who reached out to me the other day, Brian Smith, Big Love 74, for reaching out to me on Instagram. I appreciate you, my guy. Thanks for hitting me up on IG, and I hope more people be like him and y'all slide in my DMs to say what's up as well. Gotta tell him I said what's up. All right, some super chats to get to. How about Romeo just coming in, popping in, throwing down a 100 piece, and then dipping out? Cole, serious question. What will the 49ers Report and Chat Sports do when ESPN grabs you? You're the best and only place I get my Niner news. Keep up the good work. Man, when I get compliments like that, I am very humbled. It honestly makes me emotional. This is something I've dreamt of doing since I was 5 years old. I wanted to be a sports broadcaster, moved into my new crib when I was a kid. I turned on the TV. Up came Comcast Sportsnet, the regional sports network outside of the Philadelphia area. I saw all these people talking about sports, and I'm like, that's what I want to do. And I've been on this route up the media ladder to get to where I am right now. So, Cole, thank you so much, man. And I love it here at Chat Sports. That's all I can say about my current status. But continued growth and, future prosperity, that's what you aim for in life. Romeo, $100. Yeah, we talked about this a little bit earlier. No super chat menu, but Romeo still drops the 100 piece. Thank you so much, my brother. And yeah, I kind of addressed this question right during the show, like, why are the Vikings doing this right now? It is a little bit odd. That's an organization that kind of always chokes in big spots anyway, and if they're giving away their good players, that signals to me that they are rebuilding to a certain degree. So an updated look at our Super Chat battle. We're making some headway here. We are closing in on Seahawks today. They were at $250. The Cowboys report $300 on a recent live show. And here you see the San Francisco 49ers report. One segment in, 4 to go with $105 in donations. We're not worthy. We're not worthy. We certainly appreciate all of your support here of the San Francisco 49ers report. Coming up next, we are going to do a 49ers roster projection. But if you want to get featured on the show, like Cole, like Romeo, use the hashtag 49ers, or like they did, you can send a super chat in as well. That allows you to skip the line, and we'll answer your questions first. Or hashtag 49ers will be answering your questions throughout the show as well. So next up on the docket, 150 people watching live right now. Please continue to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. It goes a long way in supporting what we do here. We're going to do a 49ers roster projection following minicamp as well as Niners OTAs. Who makes it? Who's on the bubble? Who's on the outside looking in? Let's explore that right now. Coming up on today's San Francisco 49ers report, a Niners roster projection after OTAs and mandatory minicamp. Going to take a look at who's going to crack the 53-man roster, which players may be on the bubble, and which players might have to go elsewhere to continue their NFL careers, because we're talking about a Niners team that heading into 2023 once again has a very deep roster. First, though, do want your feedback here. If you think the Niners have an elite roster, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. If you don't think they have an elite team going into this upcoming season, with training camp coming up at the end of July, about a month and a half away, I want you to comment why. So without further ado, let's begin on the offensive side of the football. As of right now, I don't think that Trey Lance gets traded. I think the Niners will keep him just because they're unsure about Brock Purdy's injury. But of course, Purdy is still going to be on that 53-man roster. They're not going to put him on PUP so that he misses a few games. Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, my 3 quarterbacks for the opening 53. And if you remember last year, San Francisco kept Brock Purdy on the roster for opening day, knowing that with what he showed in the preseason, the ability that he displayed, and the fact that that quarterback position is obviously so important, he would have gotten snatched up by another team. He wouldn't have cleared waivers. He couldn't have came back on the practice squad. That's why I said in my final Niners roster projection last year, the receipts are certainly there. The Niners have to and will hold on to Purdy because he simply played too well in the preseason to risk allowing him to go to another team. Running backs and fullback here. This is going to be a very good training camp battle for who backs up Christian McCaffrey. Is Elijah Mitchell going to be able to stay healthy? If not, I think Jordan Mason is going to be RB2. If not, Elijah Mitchell. Hopefully he can stay upright and healthy and intact. He's one of the better number 2 running backs in the NFL. Ty Davis-Price, I think, is on that roster bubble. He could be fighting for a roster position. And look, the Niners drafted him in the 3rd round 2 years ago. They did the same thing with Trey Sermon, and they ended up letting him go as well. And then Kyle Juszczyk, a shoo-in to make this team as the best fullback in the NFL. When you think about this Niners running back competition for who is going to back up Christian McCaffrey, there are 2 names really that I think are the most viable. Elijah Mitchell, he needs to stay healthy, and Jordan Mason. He's coming, and you have to remember the name. He's come into camp in better shape, at least for minicamp. He was catching the football out of the backfield. He was really making the most of his opportunities last year as a backup to Christian McCaffrey, and I believe he has a lot of ability. And if Eli is hurt, Jordan Mason, RB2, book it right now. Now, we do all types of content here on the show. News, analysis, live shows, watch parties, rumors, trade rumors, free agency coverage, NFL draft coverage. Look, why would you go anywhere else for your Niners content? Hit that sub button right now to join the faithful family here at Chat Sports of more than 81,000 subscribers. Wide receivers now. Brandon Ayuk, he is this team's number 1 wideout. I don't think there's any questions asked there. No debate with how Ayuk has progressed and the array of skills that he has. He's the best wide receiver on this team. Deebo Samuel not far behind him. He's one of the better all-around weapons in the National Football League. Juwan Jennings continues to be a very good money-down wide receiver and a guy who on 3rd down always seems to be in the right place at the right time. Very dependable as well. Ray McCloud, excellent special teamer who can be utilized in this offense as a gadget guy. Danny Gray, pressures on him. More thoughts on him in a moment. And this might be a surprise to some. It's not a surprise to me because I liked the pick at the time. Ronnie Bell, I think is going to make this 53-man roster, and I like his future on this team as a Juwan Jennings replacement after Jennings, in my opinion, inevitably leaves after 2023 to cash in on a larger deal in free agency. I'll tell you this about Danny Gray. Danny Gray, I know that you were a 3rd-round pick in 2022. You have elite vertical speed. You certainly have a lot of ability. You have to pick it up. If you continue to drop footballs, you're not going to get playing time. You're not going to be considered and deemed a dependable player by this coaching staff, and you're not going to get many reps if you can't do the little things right. The explosive plays are one thing, but you have to be more consistent in this league. You have to show that throughout training camp. And then don't sleep on Ronnie Bell. He is so good at contested catches, which is so underrated in the NFL. Tight ends, a little bit of a debate here, and I went back and forth, and this could come as a little bit of a surprise, right? George Kittle, of course he makes the team, but the 2 backups to George Kittle in Ross Dwelley and Charlie Warner do not make the team. I'm going with the 2 rookies instead in Braden Willis and Cameron Latou. Cameron Latou has much more ability than those 2 aforementioned backups. I think Braden Willis has a lot more potential than those 2 as well. Braden Willis led all tight ends in this draft class at picking up yards after contact, and Latou has been wowing some people with his underrated speed. He ran a 4.7 40-yard dash in the pre-draft process, but looks a lot quicker than that, and the dude physically is massive. To offensive line to round out the offensive side of the football. Some good competitions here as well. The starters from left to right, it'll be Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel, Spencer Burford, and Colton McKivitz. After that, Matt Pryor is a guy who can kind of play multiple positions along that line. And I think it's important to have a guy like that. John Feliciano is a high-level backup who can play at center or right guard. I think Jason Poe, after being on the practice squad last year, actually cracks the 53 with the improvements that he made. He was the practice squad player of the year a year ago. And then Nick Sakel is a guy who I think is going to be a backup guard for this team, who the Niners drafted last year in 2022. So that's a total of 9 offensive linemen who cracked the squad. Jalen Moore has been disappointing. He is on the outside looking in. So we're about to shift gears to the defensive side of the rock, but what is the better unit for the 49ers here in 2023? Is it offense type O? Is it defense type D? Another good position group here on this team is defensive line. Once again, your starters on that front four, Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, and Drake Jackson as of right now. I think Cleveland Ferrell is going to push Drake Jackson for some first-team reps. After that, Kerry Hyder Jr., very good backup defensive lineman. Javon Kinlaw is iffy for me. If a team is desperate for a defensive tackle via the trade market and the Niners like a late-round pick in exchange for him, they could decide to deal him away. Kevin Givens has become criminally underrated over the last couple of years. He's a solid player. Kalia Davis, we didn't see at all as a rookie last year. He was recovering from that torn ACL that he suffered at UCF, but he's a really good athlete if he can stay healthy. And then the last defensive lineman to make the team here is Robert Beal Jr. as a guy who can come in on some obvious throwing downs on third down and just pin his ears back, use that speed coming off the edge as well as that bend, that twitchy quickness to get after the opposing quarterback. Got to look out for T.Y. McGill to make this team as well. Solid backup who is kind of a Chris Kosaric developmental project. The Niners snatched him up after he was let go by Minnesota. And then a player who is impressing a lot of people is Spencer Wagee out of North Dakota State. A lot of people believe that he could make the 53-man roster, and if he's too good in this preseason, Niners might have to have him occupy a roster spot on this team on opening day. Now let's go to the linebacking position. You lost Azeez Al-Shire, but you still have one of the best linebacking cores in the NFL. Fred Warner and Drake Greenlaw, as good of a 1-2 punch as you can find. The big question, who's going to replace Azeez Al-Shire? I think it's going to be Marcelino McCrary-Ball, just because Demetrius Flanagan-Folds and Oren Burks, they're better slotted as special teams players and not linebackers like Marcelino McCrary-Ball. I do believe that he has some potential and he could surprise a lot of people. To the practice squad, 2 of the draftees late in this draft, Jalen Graham as well as D. Winders. TCU Purdue products, they impressed last year, and I think that they're just not ready for the pro game just yet, especially on a defense that is arguably going to be the best once again in the NFL. If you can have them on that practice squad, that's a big win right there. Last position group before we get to our specialists, it's a secondary. Charvarius Ward, Diamador Lenore. Those are your top 2 cornerbacks here. Talanoa Hufanga, Deshaun Gibson. They will be your starting safeties if, and this is a big if Gibson can hold off Jair Brown, who is coming. He's surging, and I love the rookie. Samuel Womack, Isaiah Oliver, good slot nickel corners who are shoo-ins to make this team. George Odom, very good special teamer, one of the best in the NFL, in fact. And then the rookie 5th-round pick out of South Alabama, who did not participate in mandatory minicamp for undisclosed reasons, but was good in OTAs, Darrell Luter Jr. That's 9 players in the secondary who make this 53. And is there a surprising name not on this list who you're like, whoa, what happened to Ambry Thomas? I don't think Ambry Thomas makes the squad. He displayed some ability as a rookie, played very good down the stretch. Last year, barely played at all. I think he's suffering from a lack of confidence. Maybe the Niners try to deal him for late-round compensation, or they let him seek an opportunity elsewhere for a fresh start. specialists are people too, ladies and gentlemen. And keep in mind that I'm not including returners in here. That's why I had Ray McLeod making the team at that wide receiver spot. Tabor Pepper, a very good long snapper. Mitch Wisnowski, your punter. And the rookie, third-round pick kicker, Jake Moody, easily beats out Zane Gonzalez. So that is my first 49ers roster projection for this 2023 team. Be honest with me, grade it. A, B, C, D, or F. Sound off with what you think down in the comment section. And as always, thanks for watching the show. All right, what do you think? Roster projection, A, B, C, D, or F. What do you got? Big Hurt coming in with the $10 super chat. I hope they don't give up on Trey. Big Cock Brock's floor is better. He played lights out, but are we ready to give up on the fact that Trey's ceiling could be much higher than Brock's? And I've said that before. Like, Brock Purdy has a ceiling over his head. He has a certain amount of potential just because of the athletic profile that he has. I'm very intrigued by Trey Lance. But if you watched the show yesterday, on Monday, I did talk about what Bill Walsh looked for in a quarterback and how he evaluates that position. He said it's not all about arm strength. Sometimes you have to layer throws. You have to throw with anticipation, touch, accuracy. You have to be a leader. I think Trey Lance can be a great leader for this football team. But arm strength isn't just the only thing that makes you a quality quarterback in this league. Big Hurt, thank you for the 10. And Lyle with the 20. Chase, how much cap space do the Niners have? First off, then I think we should look into getting help for Bosa opposite edge. You can always make a trade for a player a little bit later. I'll go more in depth on these as well during one of our mailbags too, so stay tuned for that. Lyle, it's about $10+ million in cap space for San Francisco. And I totally agree about getting help for Bosa on the opposite side of that defensive line. That's why I continue to say, Yannick Ngakoue, he just hired Drew Rosenhaus as his agent. Like, that would be very, very wise for San Francisco to sign him. Guy's had 8 sacks every year that he's been in the NFL. He's only 28 years old. An updated look at our Super Chat battle. We're making some headway here, continuing to make some noise. Cowboys Report on a recent show did 300 in donations. Seahawks today with 250. Niners Report off to an awesome start. We are 2 segments in, already at $135. Thank you so much for supporting the show. I do appreciate that. Sip of tea to lather the pipes. Little smelling salts because you can't be scared out here. Woo! Make sure what? Yeah. Some people at this company complain about vocal cord stamina. Not me. Get featured on the show. Use the hashtag 49ers or Super Chat. You saw the people who sent in a donation. We answered those questions ASAP. We're up to $135 in donations. Coming up next, What Noodle 187, you're a real one. Always watching the program. I'll answer yours. Chase, here with my little girl having ice cream because she got her tonsils out. So quick question. If we trade Lance, I would want to see us get offensive line help instead of defensive line. Your thoughts on that? What Noodle? Hope the daughter's coming along well with tonsil surgery. I was actually consulted by doctors when I was a kid because I would always get strep throat, and they told me, you should probably get it. Somehow, they left the decision up to me to consult with my mom. And I was like, of course I don't want my tonsils out. Luckily, though, I've been able to escape that bug as I've gotten a little bit older. Quick recovery to the Wet Noodle fam. And I agree, like, right tackle, massive question mark for me. The fact that we're going into 2023 trying to contend for a Super Bowl here for San Francisco, and they have Colton McKivitz at right tackle, like, that's a disgrace, in my opinion. Unless you make some of these massive strides forward, but I just don't see how it's going to happen. Get featured on the show. Hashtag 49ers. Super Chat to get those questions answered. Wet Noodle, use the hashtag 49ers. That's how I was able to see it very, very easily. And coming up next here on the program, some breakout candidates for the Niners this upcoming season. Excited to dive into this list. What's up? Welcome in. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for being here with us. And as always, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, there are so many options out there to take in your content. Thank you so much for making the 49ers Report a part of your day. On the docket for today's show, 49ers breakout candidates. 5 players who I think are going to break out for San Francisco in 2023. And I'm excited to dive into this list because I do believe a lot of these players have potential on this team, in this system, given their current environments. Jordan Mason, breakout candidate number 1. Throughout Niners mandatory minicamp, he was getting second-team reps with Elijah Mitchell injured once again. And why I think Mason can pop in his sophomore campaign. Showed some serious ability last year, whether it be in the regular season or in the playoffs. He really does remind us a little bit of Marshawn Lynch. I kept saying that prior to the year last year, just because he runs like a bull and has that level of physicality. He'll lay that shoulder down, put his helmet on somebody, and keep it moving. Elijah Mitchell's injury questions could vault Mason into that RB2 role, just allowing him to get more carries, and if that happens, the numbers will go up, thus making him a breakout candidate. And what's the best part about this is Jordan Mason, as an undrafted free agent, made the team last year, contributed on offense as well as special teams, but he was not content with that. He didn't settle. He came into this offseason in better shape, and he actually displayed pass-catching ability out of the backfield for the Niners, something that Elijah Mitchell can't really do, and Mason didn't really show last year, but has shown that so far this offseason. Further information here on Jordan Mason. Remember the name Jordan Mason. This is a player who I think is my prime breakout candidate for the Niners here in 2023, just because of the style in which he plays with and the fact that it's a contrasting style to what the Niners have in Christian McCaffrey, who's a do-it-all back. You need this type of running back who's going to run your ass over and keep it moving. Of the 270 rushing yards that Mason had in 2022, 190 of those yards came after contact, and his 4.22 yards after contact was the second highest rate in the NFL last year among qualifying running backs. 16% of Mason's runs went for 10-plus yards on a limited workload. To compare that to Christian McCaffrey, only 13% of McCaffrey's runs went for 10-plus yards. Jordan Mason, breakout candidate for the Niners. Make sure you interact with me on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me there at Chase_Senior, but also let's hear from you down in the comment section as well. And let me know if you do reach out to me, a breakout candidate for the Niners here. Who will be RB2? Is it going to be Mason? Is it going to be Elijah Mitchell? Sound off with what you think down in the comment section. That's one of our poll questions. Available now. Real One Roll Call. If you want to get yourself a Real One shirt, I rock these on the show all the time. You can cop them. Chatsports.com/Real149. What is a real one? You go about your life with no fear. You have some pep in your step, a little bit of gusto, a little bit of swagger and confidence. Most importantly, though, you support the San Francisco 49ers report. Chatsports.com/Real149. Get yourself a Real One shirt right now. Breakout candidate numero dos, Drake Jackson. Entering a pivotal year 2, just like Jordan Mason is, but the pressure's on Drake Jackson more so than Jordan Mason because of where he was drafted last year in that second round. And there's also pressure on Drake Jackson considering how he ended last year. Now for Jackson heading into his sophomore campaign, needed to get stronger, needed to add muscle, needed to increase his stamina. Been able to do that. Added 13 pounds during the offseason. Does that make him slower and less explosive, or does that allow him to survive the rigors of an NFL season? He did have 3 sacks in his first 6 games last year. Then as Kyle Shanahan noted, Drake Jackson admitted, so too did Chris Kocurek, he wore down physically and was inactive for 5 of 6 games to end the year. Jackson's Pro Football Focus numbers a year ago: 228 pass rushing snaps, 16 total pressures, 9 total hurries, 3 hits, and 3 sacks. These numbers have to be better just because he has to rise up to the occasion, show up, ball out, and play better to help out Nick Bosa a little bit from not having to take on so many double teams, which I believe made him a little bit fatigued at the end of the year. So with that, let's ask you this. How many sacks will Drake Jackson have in 2023. I'm going to go 6. I think 6 is a really safe number. He had 3 last year. 6 is pretty good production. That would have been second on the team in sacks last year. Sticking at that edge rusher spot, Drake Jackson's going to be competing for first-team snaps with Clelin Ferrell. Clelin Ferrell, known as a bust in Raider Nation, right? He comes to a team that develops the you-know-what out of defensive linemen. He also comes to an organization that I'm sure he's happy about, has the best defensive line coach in the NFL in Chris Kocurek. Chris Kocurek has shown time and time again that he can maximize players along the defensive line and really turn them into very quality players. Clelin Ferrell, look at his numbers last year. He's only 26 years old, but everybody's like, dude, this guy has done nothing in his career as a former 4th overall pick back in 2019, and you're kind of right. 2 sacks a year ago, has inside-outside versatility as an edge and a slighter defensive tackle. His career stats up to this point, only 10 sacks since 2019 in 58 total games and 32 quarterback hits with 15 tackles for loss. But think about all of the defensive linemen that Kocurek has been able to maximize, and I'm just naming a few here. Jordan Willis, Charles Omenihu, Arden Key, Kerry Hyder Jr. He's helped develop Nick Bosa, Samson Ebukam. Like every player that he can coach up, it's a diamond in the rough, and he maximizes that individual player. And I think it's really important for San Francisco to simply get after the quarterback a little bit more this year, and that's why the pressure is on Drake Jackson and Clelin Ferrell. Now, I think Ferrell is a good breakout candidate because if he has 5 or 6, that would be a career high for him. But Niners' sack rates over the last 6 years, 2022, they were 15th. 2021, they were 4th. 2020, 24th. 2019, 2nd in the NFL. That's the year they made it to the Super Bowl. 2018, 19th. And 2017, 29th. So the Niners, when they have an elite sack rate, they make it to the Super Bowl, the NFC Championship game. Last year, they were middle of the pack, still made it to the NFC Championship game, but they have to be better in that area. Make sure you subscribe to the show, and when you do hit that sub button, make sure you turn on your notifications. We give you content every single day, and anytime we go live, anytime we push out a video, if you do turn on your noties, you'll be notified. Just hit that bell icon. A lot of times, I don't use rookies as breakout candidates. But what if I told you that Jair Brown as a 3rd-round pick would start for this football team alongside Talanoa Hufanga, and he would overtake Deshaun Gibson's role as a starting safety? And because of that, I think I can use him as a breakout candidate. Rookies don't often get deemed as breakouts, but I honestly think that Jair Brown is going to push to start. The early word is that Brown has been impressing everybody. And I'm from Pennsylvania. For my previous job prior to hosting the 49ers Report and being here at Chat Sports, I did work in Pennsylvania. I covered Penn State football. I think they've done one of the best jobs of developing professional talent within that program since James Franklin went to Happy Valley. And Jair Brown is one of the most recent of those products. An instinctual player who always seems to be in the right place at the right time, making a game-changing play. And while his athletic testing numbers didn't blow people away, he is a pretty good athlete, and he's shown that early on. A lot of people are like, this dude's come in, he's acting like a vet already. The Penn State program does that with a lot of players, setting themselves up for professional success. Another reminder, interact with me, Twitter, Instagram, slide in my DMs, say what's up. Do not be a stranger. I'm trying to grow both of my platforms here. You'll see I'm verified on Twitter, not on Instagram, but it's me, and I'm the only at Chase_Senior. I don't have any other duplicate accounts. Just wanted to let y'all know. An offensive lineman will come in our number 5 spot for breakout candidate number 5, and that is Spencer Burford, offensive guard who got a vote of confidence from Chris Forrester, the offensive line coach for this team, when he said that, yeah, Burford, he's penciled in as the starting right guard, as is Colton McKivitz at that right tackle position. Burford was pretty solid last year for a rookie, and it's hard to step into that role as a rookie for a team that was in the Final Four. Started 16 games. Offensive linemen often make really big strides in year 2. So while his Pro Football Focus grades were a little bit spotty last year, he was serviceable at least. He needed to add weight and muscle, and That's what he was able to accomplish this offseason, and I think that just makes him a more consistent player who doesn't get pushed around as much. For a rookie to pull off this, though, as a late-round pick, mid-round pick, 744 snaps at right guard, 5 penalties, 4 sacks allowed, 5 hits allowed, 16 pressures. Like, those aren't atrocious numbers. You can certainly be worse than that. And let's look no further than another player who last year in year 2, after having not played at all in year 1, did make some of those significant strides. And that's Aaron Banks, who only gave up 1 sack in year 2. So on the same developmental path, can Spencer Burford follow that trajectory as well? I believe that is going to be the case. Who is your number 1 Niners breakout candidate for 2023? Chime in. We want to hear from the faithful. We are moving on today's show. You love to see it. You love to see it. Continue to get those comments in. Another super chat coming in from the homie Mac Daddy. We're up to $145 in super chats. Do you think we can hold this team together till next season, until we can find a right tackle in next year's draft? I'm optimistic, but I'm super nervous. I'm super nervous as well because bad and porous offensive line play, it can ruin your entire season. So I think that Forrester is a good offensive line coach. I think the system can work away from some of the weaknesses on this team just because Kyle Shanahan's a great play designer and play caller, but you can count me as very, very concerned. I really, really am because, look, after Colton McKivitz, who would step in if he gets hurt or he stinks? The free agent options would suck, and then you'd have to make a trade in which you might have to overpay out of a level of desperation. Past $5, just stopping by, brother. Looking for the defense to play mean this year. If Brown ends up starting, then it's him. Otherwise, it's Drake Jackson. Hashtag real one. Real one. Roll call. Past. You're the man. We appreciate you. Yeah, I agree. Jair Brown, Drake Jackson, 2 prime breakout candidates for me. Another super chat is coming in, and now we're up to $150 in super chats. Estimates are us. He was sending in a couple of donations last week. How is that beast, Joey Fisher, looking so far? Maybe a practice squad candidate in year 1 for him as an undrafted guy who played D2 football in the PSAC conference, Pennsylvania State Athletic Association, even though he went to Shepherd, which is in West Virginia. The PSAC, a very good football league, expanded a little bit and welcomed in Shepherd. He's playing guard. He played tackle at the college level, but might be a little bit too slow for that. As a developmental project, I don't think he gets scooped up by another team to go on their practice squad or their active roster. I think he's a practice squad candidate in year 1. An updated look at our Super Chat battle. Are we going to take down Seattle Seahawks today? I'm smelling a V for victory. Shout out to Johnny Drama, Entourage. 150 on the 49ers report. 250 Seahawks today. Cowboys report with 300. Let's take those frauds down. Baby bro. Baby bro. Great show, Entourage. It's certainly up there for some of my favorite shows of all time. I might have to go True Detective Season 1, Breaking Bad number 2. True Detective Season 1 with Matthew McConaughey, Woody Harrelson, elite. Number 2, Breaking Bad. Number 3, I really like Ozark. And then I might have to go Entourage 4. It's not for everybody, but I really like that show. Peaky Blinders sneakily might be a number 5. I never really dove into like Succession or The Sopranos or Friends, but that's my top 5.
No, Peaky Blinders is an elite one.
Great
Mad
show.
Men is also a good one.
Mad Men, never got into that.
That's one I would definitely recommend if you
never got into that. I mean, there's so many options out there.
Oh, yeah.
So let me know your top 5.
But Peaky Blinders, that's a sneaky good one for a top 5 list because that show rocks.
Yeah. The main actor is just awesome.
It makes you feel like such a man. You're just like, man, I just got to go out and like
Yeah,
start gambling and like punching people in the face.
I kind of want to be a gangster.
Like I might move to Europe, get a time machine, go back to like
An
1894.
old school gangster.
Oh yeah, you have to.
Jesus Christ, my king. Have you ever heard of Warnersville, Pennsylvania? I have. That's in Berks County. Berks County, right? See, I used to work in northeastern Pennsylvania, so I covered like, if you look at Pennsylvania as a rectangle, I cover like the top quarter all the way out to Happy Valley, Penn State, as far south as Allentown, as far north as Scranton, but sometimes Binghamton, New York, and then I'm from the bottom right of the rectangle of Pennsylvania. All right, 2 more segments to get to, and we're going to start to answer your questions here. So this is when you get to be involved on the show. Hashtag 49ers or Super Chat to get featured here on the show. Going to start to answer your questions on the tail end of this segment. We'll do one sole mailbag, and that's when I'll answer all of your questions, but we're going to talk Brock Purdy here and then get to some stuff at the end. Christopher, Big Man Chase, awesome show. Can you send some love to my son Carlos? He's turning 9. Huge Debo fan. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Carlos. Happy birthday to you. Debo. Whoa. Debo. Whoa. Carlos, happy birthday, brother. 9 years old. That's a fun age, man. Nostalgic for me. Brings back a lot of memories.
I miss being 9.
I miss being 9.
It was fun.
Yeah, I do like being adult over a kid.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie. I do like being adult over a kid, but like there are some moments of being a kid you wish you could go back to for sure. All right, some more tea. Got to help out the vocal cords here. 9 likes away. I like that. Got to drink some tea to spill the tea on the Niners. 9 likes away from 100. Continue to like the video. Going to start answering your questions here. You know what y'all could do too when we sing happy birthday? You can clip that, screen record it, then you crop it on your iPhone. You can keep that thing forever to hear our beautiful singing voices. All right. Is Brock Purdy a rising star? According to the NFL Players Association, the answer to that is yes. Let's take a look at the numbers, where he ranked. And let's get into that segment right now. Is Brock Purdy a rising star in the National Football League? According to the NFL Players Association, he checks in at number 1 on that list. You're watching the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Make sure you subscribe to the show for daily and year-round content on the Niners. Here is the top rising stars list from the NFLPA, and this does not include rookies. Second year and on for a lot of young players across the NFL. And what do you know? After what he did as a rookie, Brock Purdy checking in at number 1. Somehow, though, I disagree with this. He beats out Garrett Wilson, who was great last year. Tony Pollard is certainly interesting. Breece Hall's season got cut short with the New York Jets a year ago. George Pickens, I think he's a monster. He just needs more consistent quarterback play. Can he get that from Kenny Pickett and the Pittsburgh Steelers? Possibly. If that's the case, look out for him to really make a spring forward here in year 2. I think Chris Olave could be a lot higher on this list, perhaps overtaking a Tony Pollard or a Breece Hall. Patrick Surtain heading into year 3, one of the NFL's top young cornerbacks. Miles Sanders has been in the league for a minute, and he's at number 8 on this list. DJ Moore is a veteran, and then Jordan Love hasn't done a lick in the National Football League. He rounds out the top 10. So among some of the elite players here, and in some pretty impressive categories, Brock Purdy coming in at number 1, and here's how the NFLPA decided this list. These players have demonstrated immense potential, capturing the attention of both fans and industry insiders. The Rising Stars list equips NFL Players Association partners, including licensees, retailers, and sponsors, with invaluable insights to strategize marketing campaigns, social media activations, player-driven content, brand ambassadorships, and product lines featuring a diverse range of players. A lot of multi-syllable words in that little snippet there from the NFLPA, but is certainly interesting. And as for what Brock Purdy did in his 8 games started to round out the regular season, this also includes the playoffs. You can see why he certainly is on this list I don't know if he should be number 1, but he certainly deserves to be in the top 10 with what he did last year. Also, if they're including marketability here, you have to consider the fact that quarterbacks, some of the most marketable athletes in all professional sports. Completion percentage was 67% for Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. He threw for nearly 2,000 yards. The decision-making was certainly there. 16 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. What he lacks with arm strength makes up for it with accuracy, anticipation, and timing, and his quarterback rating was very, very good at 111.4. He was also among some of the top quarterbacks in yards per attempt last year. As for how he fared in the regular season, as compared to the playoffs, this includes Purdy's game against the Miami Dolphins when he replaced and injured Jimmy Garoppolo, came in when the Niners were down, led a comeback, and at that time, it was a really important win for San Francisco in their playoff hunt, but also against a team that was also vying for a playoff spot in the Miami Dolphins. The completion percentage in the regular season hovering around 67%, the 13 touchdowns to 4 picks, yards per completion 12.1. Credit to Kyle Shanahan for drawing up some plays, allowing some explosives, even though Brock Purdy's arm strength isn't all that crazy. And then in the playoffs, the Brock Purdy slander on Twitter is something that I don't really understand, and 49ers Twitter does crack me up a little bit. It's as though the fans don't want any of the quarterbacks to be successful. They try to knock him for how he played against Seattle, but he put up the best statistical quarterback game in a playoff game for a Niners quarterback since Steve Young. And while he was a little bit choppy early on, he finished that game humming. And then in the Cowboys game, started off a little bit rocky, but he marched the Niners right down the field from inside their 10-yard line. They went on a near 100-yard drive to score a touchdown to put that game out of reach from Dallas to send San Francisco to the NFC Championship game. So you can rip Brock Purdy all you want. To me, you just didn't watch the eye test, and you don't know that he has it. As for what Purdy accomplished, a year in review for his rookie campaign. He came back against Miami after that Jimmy G injury. He was 5-0 in the regular season. The offense averaged more than 30 points per game when he was the starter, and he won 2 playoff games. To do that as a rookie, considering who he was replacing in Jimmy G, the expectations, the pressure, some of the opponents that they had to play, the defense that they went up against, it's pretty damn impressive to do as a rookie. Now, some people might say, well, he's due for some regression. Who's to say that he can't get even better? Doctors that I've spoken with, they don't believe that the ulnar collateral ligament repair is going to affect him all that much. And George Kittle even said, look, I've seen him throw a couple of times. I expect him to be this team's starting quarterback in week 1. That news coming out on Tuesday. So Purdy, with the injury, some concerns there. How many games will he start for the Niners this year? And can the Niners finally have a quarterback or quarterbacks who don't continuously get hurt? Let's hope so. Let me know how many games Purdy starts here in 2023. Let's start to take some of your questions here. Big Hurt with the $10 super chat. Appreciate it, brother. I hope they don't give up on Trey Lance. Brock Purdy's floor is better. He played lights out, but are we ready to give up on the fact that Trey's ceiling could be much higher than Brock's? I've continued to say that. Like, Trey Lance's ceiling, it's unlimited, and he has untapped potential. Whereas Brock Purdy, on the other hand, there is a ceiling over his head because there's only so much that he can do with that physical profile. Brock Purdy is not 6'4", 225 with the rocket for an arm like Lance is. He doesn't have the speed that Lance does. He doesn't offer you the running threat in the ground game that Lance does. But the big question with Trey Lance, it's accuracy, it's completion percentage, it's hitting some of the easy throws. And can he throw with timing and anticipation? Can he loft some balls in there on some tight windows, over defensive backs, over linebackers down the seam, and complete the array of throws on the field that Purdy did complete last year? That's a big question. Lyle, $20 donation. Chase, how much cap space do the Niners have, first off? Then I also think we should look into getting some help for both on the opposite edge. You can always make a trade for a player later. So about $10+ million for 49ers cap space right now. And I'm going to continue to beat this drum. I think San Francisco needs to help out Nick Bosa. Like, the guy was the defensive player of the year last year. You're going to sign him to this big contract. But what did he do the last month? Nothing. No sack, or 1 sack, I believe. Like, that's a little bit of a problem. And you just can't have him go up against all these double teams and expect him to hold up throughout the course of another long season, which is hopefully the case if the Niners make another deep run in the playoffs with an opportunity to win a Super Bowl. So Yannick Ngakoue, he hired Drew Rosenhaus this week to be his agent in hopes that he can land a deal prior to training camp. That's a player who's 28 years old, still in his prime, has had at least 8 sacks every year that he's been in the NFL, still available as we record this on Tuesday. Jadeveon Clowney out there. Justin Houston, also a free agent. I agree. Need some help because Drake Jackson is a big unknown. Cleveland Ferrell up to this point, he's been a bust. Mac Daddy, $5 donation. Do you think that we can hold this team together till next year, until we can find a right tackle in next year's draft? I'm optimistic, but I am super nervous. I'm nervous too, and I've said this a lot, Mac Daddy. I think offensive line, it is an area that you need to have locked down. The 2 teams playing in the Super Bowl last year, Philadelphia, Kansas City, very good offensive lines. Everybody wanted to call the Chiefs' offensive line leaky. They didn't surrender a sack against Philadelphia in that Super Bowl. And then the Eagles had the best offensive line in football last year with Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Jason Kelsey, Isaac Seumalo, and Lane Johnson. The 49ers, on the other hand, they struggled against the Cowboys, good defensive line, and the Eagles, good defensive line, in the playoffs when it mattered the most. And they downgraded from Mike McGlinchey to Colton McKivitz. So I'm concerned, Mac Daddy. Can they hold it off until next year? We'll see. But if not, they might be in trouble. Estimates are us. Last question of this segment here. How is that beast Joey Fisher looking so far? So this is the UDFA out of Shepherd, which is a D2 school out of West Virginia. They played, I believe, D3 football for a really long time, wanted an uptick in competition, so they joined the PSAC, which is the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference, and Joey Shepherd played tackle there. He was considered to be an athletic freak while at Shepherd. He was a tackle, though. With the Niners, he's playing a lot of guard. I think he's a good practice squad candidate for the Niners here this upcoming season. How many games will San Francisco win in 2023? Drop me a numerical figure in the comments right now. What are y'all saying? What do you got? Let's see. Greg Smith, 15. Robert, 12. John Wallace, 12 wins. Another super chat coming in from Mac Daddy. Going out on a limb to say my breakout candidate will be Javon Kinlaw in a rotation role. Just has to stay healthy. Simply has to stay healthy. And up to this point, he literally has not stayed healthy at all. So can he stay healthy? That's what Javon Kinlaw has to do to be a breakout candidate. All right, one more segment to go. And we don't have a ton of time to do a Niners Report happy hour. So this is the last call to get those super chats in if you want to beat Seahawks today or the Dallas Cowboys report. On some recent live shows, they did 300 and 250. No super chat menu for today. We're kind of just doing a bunch of great content, 5 segments on the program. So get those questions in, and if you want to send in a super chat, get those in right now because we won't be able to hang out for a long 49ers Report happy hour. Get featured on the show. Hashtag Niners, super chat to get those questions answered. We're going to do a mailbag as our 5th and final segment. The most segments we've ever done on a Niners live show. You just got to be built different, that's all. Yeah, for real. Is this Manscaped, by the way? Yeah. We can do it midway through, but let's do like an 8-minute-er. Yeah, so about 4. Kinlaw, a waste of a roster spot from Joseph. Yeah, up to this point, man, he's been a massive bust. Brandon Savage saying 11 wins. K-Nut with the 13. All right, get those questions in. We have enough? Yeah, we have enough. All right. If you want those questions answered, get them in right now. Hashtag 49ers or a super chat. Today's San Francisco 49ers report is presented by Manscaped. You can get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com/49ers. We're going to put that link in the comment section and the description of this video. Join the 8 million men who have put their trust in Manscaped at manscaped.com/49ers. 424 Jose. Who do you think the Niners, or do you think the Niners offensive line stays healthy, or do they improve this year? So, you know what you have from Trent Williams. He's the best left tackle in the game. Aaron Banks in year 2 last year gave up 1 sack. Why can't he continue to get better? Great developmental project has Aaron Banks been. Jake Brendel was an underrated center in the NFL last year. With another year of starting games, can he make some strides? Spencer Burford added a little bit of muscle, and I think that's going to help him. I think that he could make some improvements. My big question mark is Colton McKivitz, and if that is the leaky faucet along that offensive line, do teams by design put their best edge rushers on that side, and then they beat Colton McKivitz off that side, but then that forces George Kittle to have to block a little bit too much, which then takes him away from being a weapon in the pass game? That's my concern. Hopefully they can stay healthy. You never know at the NFL level, and hopefully they make improvements. But Colton McKivitz, to me, he's not an improvement from Mike McGlinchey. Evan Hinders, what's good, my guy? I might be over pushing it, but I think getting Ronnie Bell will be a Julian Edelman type of receiver. It's tough to say right now. They have different body types. Edelman was shorter and stockier. Ronnie Bell is a little bit taller and a little bit slighter. The one thing that Ronnie Bell has that Julian Edelman did have was a contested catch radius and ability, where Ronnie Bell might not be the fastest guy or the biggest guy, but his pops is a football coach. And you can just tell he's a coach's son with the precision on his routes, how seriously he takes drills, and how mechanical he is when he plays the wide receiver position with the nuances of it. Now, Julian Edelman ended up being one of the best playoff receivers of all time. I think Ronnie Bell makes the 53-man roster, but he's a different player than Julian Edelman. Evan, though, appreciate you for always chiming in. Will Ronnie Bell make the roster? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Ernesto, who do you think will break out this year on the offense and defense, and do we still need a right tackle at this point, or do we wait? So I did a breakout candidates video, which is up on the channel, and here are my Niners breakout candidates. Jordan Mason going into year 2, Drake Jackson heading into year 2, Cleveland Ferrell, Jair Brown, and Spencer Burford. I know you asked specifically on the offensive side of the ball, 2 offensive players here on this list in Mason and Spencer Burford. Jordan Mason was 2nd in the NFL last year at picking up yards after contact. And if Elijah Mitchell continues to get hurt, Jordan Mason, I think, could be RB2, and a very good one at that. Subscribe to the show for 49ers videos every single day and year-round content. If you're in the market for insightful, informative, entertaining 49ers coverage, that's what we do and take pride in here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. And when you do hit that sub button, make sure you turn on your notice. Therefore, anytime we go live or push out a video, you will be notified so that you can stay in the know. If you haven't heard already, it is smooth sack summer. When you're playing in the summer sun, make sure your Manscaped products are near you, and make sure you're escaped from pubes to bum. That's right. This is the summer to keep your balls cool while still looking hot with Manscaped. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming are making sure we all have a ball this summer by giving our pants partners everything they need to stay fresh. Dive headfirst into smooth sack summer by heading to manscaped.com/49ers for 20% off and free shipping with our code 49ers. If you're wearing sandals with some nasty toenails during the summer months, take a look at the Shears 2.0, a luxury nail grooming kit. This kit includes stainless steel nail cutters, tweezers, grooming scissors, and with the performance package, your balls will be ready to impress, but make sure you cover the rest with the Shears 2.0 as well. Lawnmower 4.0, interchangeable blade, safeguard technology. So whether you're taking care of the man downstairs because nobody wants a George W. Bush, or you're shaving your back, your chest, your beard, whatever, that Safeguard technology, it allows you to not get cut up, which nobody actually wants. John Wallace, $19 super chat. Okay, is he talking about Yannick Ngakoue? Okay, I like it. Yannick Ngakoue and a right tackle. There's got to be a right tackle out there. Yeah, and going back to that last question, Yannick Ngakoue, he fulfills the needed edge rusher. And then right tackle, to answer that previous question, look, I said it all offseason. It was criminal to me how the Niners did not draft a right tackle in this draft. And you also have to look ahead because Trent Williams, how much time does he have left? I'm not sure if it's a lot of time. So you might be going into the offseason next year without a left tackle or a right tackle. And if you have to pay somebody in free agency, it's going to cost a ton because the going rate for top-tier tackles in this league is a lot. So Ngakoue right tackle, I think that eases some of my concerns with what the Niners need for this upcoming offseason. And Jair Brown, I love the player as well. Lyle, hey Chase, last year, where did the Niner offensive line rank? And where do you think they will rank this year? So according to Pro Football Focus, they ranked 7th in the NFL last year among all offensive lines in the NFL. And they were a solid unit last year, but I think it's a little bit misleading, right? Because Trent Williams, best left tackle in the game. Aaron Banks gave up 1 sack. That's a really good left side. Jake Brendel, middle upper tier of centers. The right side of that offensive line with Burford, Mike McGlinchey, it was just okay. How do they rank this year, though? Can Burford get better? If that's the case, great. Can Brendel get better? That would be a positive. Can Aaron Banks continue that? Hopefully there's not a drop-off for Trent Williams, who's a straight dog. And then Colton McKivitz. I just don't know what to expect because up to this point, he has been a backup tackle in this league. What is the better unit for this football team heading into this year? O for offense or a D for defense? 21 NC Dorado. What is a Chase Young trade cost value to acquire him? So I did talk about this a couple of times. The 49ers draft picks in 2024. Let me take a look at them here because they're projected to lead the NFL in compensatory picks in the 2024 draft. The Niners will have a first-round pick in 2024 as well. They have a first-round pick, a second-round pick, a third-round pick, fourth-round pick, fifth-round pick, sixth-round pick, seventh-round pick. And I actually think they have a couple of third-round picks, but that hasn't been determined yet with the compensatory pick formula. So if you go to Washington and you're like, we'll give you a second-round pick and a couple of thirds, could that get it done? That's the price that I'm willing to go to. Also keep in mind, Niners have $10+ million in cap space. That's right around what Chase Young is due this year. But if you trade for him, you probably trade for him if he plays well to sign him to a long-term extension. And can you sign Bosa and Young to an extension? You have to factor that in as well. Should the Niners trade for Chase Young? Final question for the audience today. T for trade, P for pass. Join the conversation down below. And as always, thanks for watching the program. 5 segments in the can. Woo! 2 claps and a Ric Flair. Woo! And we're up to $193 in Super Chats. Wow. And we're about to take down Seattle Seahawks today. I understand I said we can't do a long happy hour because I still have more work to do, and I don't really feel like being at work past 7 o'clock tonight. But look, I do want to beat Seattle Seahawks today in the Cowboys report. We're up to 194 right now. So let's go 2 minutes on our Super Chat shot clock here. 2 minutes on our Super Chat shot clock. Here we go. If you want to send in a donation to take down Seattle Seahawks today in the Cowboys report, you see the numbers here and where we are. Can we take them down, those 2 rivals here, under the Chat Sports umbrella?
Did you guys enjoy the content? I mean, 5 segs in the can.
That
That ain't easy. That's nothing. That's not nothing. But we make it look like nothing because we're the best in the game. See, at the office, at the stew, Chase and I have come up with a new nickname for ourselves. It was the Chase and Trey Show, but now it's Pocket Aces.
Pocket Aces.
Because the best hand you can get.
Pocket Aces.
Best hand you can get. Pocket Aces because of the best
Chase,
content.
You see what we did there? The Pocket Aces. We're 50 seconds into our 2-minute shot clock. If you don't send us any donations, it's all good. It's been another successful show, but we are $6 away from 200. I will say that.
And we're 56 away from
I'll say this. If we beat the Cowboys report in the next minute or two, I'll shotgun a beer.
I'll join them.
And Trace will join me. Double shotgun if we beat the Cowboys report in the next 2 minutes. Ethan Rubio said, "Go Cowboys?" No way. Who'd the Cowboys lose to in the playoffs the last 2 years? San Francisco! Lore. Not going to be able to join the Warriors show on Friday because I'm going to Reno, Nevada, and Lake Tahoe. Nice, man. It's awesome. Have fun.
Nice. Great success.
140 on our 2-minute shot clock. If we beat the Cowboys report, double shotgun from the Pocket Aces.
Don't make us work. Don't make us work. Don't make us work.
Waveware, I love that. Niners on the Cowboys kryptonite. So good. Cheers, gents. Cheers.
Cheers.
Greg Smith, what's up, brother? What do you think about Yannick Ngakoue if the Niners sign him to the roster? I think Jordan Mason is a good football player. I talked about both of them a lot on the show. I would love Yannick Ngakoue, and if you're just joining us, just reminding you, that's what we talked about. Yannick Ngakoue, very good player. Jordan Mason, a breakout candidate for me. All right, no Super Chats came in within those 2 minutes. I think that means that we're going to sign off. We didn't beat the Cowboys report. We didn't beat Seattle Seahawks today, but that's all good. Still a very successful show with 5 segments, and we did that without a Super Chat menu today. So that's all good as well. Waveware, cheers to you as well. Thanks to everybody who watched the show today. I hope you enjoyed our content. It was all football for about, for about an hour and 15 minutes. 5 segments in an hour, 15 minutes. That's what you call some clockwork. Uh-oh! Estimates are us! $6. That gets us to 200. I hate to ask about kickers, but has Moody been worth the pick so far? He's been good. He's missed a couple of kicks. We'll see when the game action starts. That's really what it comes down to. How do you kick in a stadium in a hostile environment, or when the pressure from your home crowd is on, when all eyes are on you and you feel that palpable buzz in the stadium? So we'll see. Hopefully worth the 3rd-round pick, because you could have gotten a right tackle, which is a more important position. Or you could have just brought back Robbie Gould if you really wanted to. David Corona, what's good, my brother? We got to 200 in supers. Didn't beat Seahawks today or the Cowboys report. I will do this. 1 more minute. If we beat the Cowboys report, shotgun from the Pocket Aces, Chase and Trace. Also, a look at our poll question. Which Niner has the biggest breakout season? Jordan Mason, 40%. Drake Jackson, 32%. Jair Brown, 22%. Very good poll question there. Your responses went a long way. All right, 30 seconds in.
30 seconds remaining.
5 segments.
Who's going to keep us live?
Tanks.
Keep us live. Keep us live. Keep us live.
What's going to happen? Beat the Cowboys report. On ILO, swoop in. Robert, do you think C-Mac will stay healthy and be featured in the passing game more? I hope so. I hope so. Dude's special. Dude's special. And hopefully he stays healthy. I mean, the dude works on his craft and works on his body a lot. So, AZTC Pride, are you going to any Niner games? No, just because I do watch parties for all the games. And we make a lot of strides and progress with our channel by doing those watch parties. Plus, they're the most watched Niners watch parties on YouTube, and it's the best atmosphere outside of actually being at the game. So, Corona guy, real one, David Corona, real one roll call. I think it's a good note to end on that. Real one roll call to everybody who tuned in today. We appreciate you. We'll catch you next time here on the 49ers Report. Programming reminder, I'm going back to Pennsylvania next week. So no live show on Tuesday because I'm seeing my Australian cousins, who who I have not seen in more than a decade. And Thomas B., I've not been to a Niners game before. I have not. But yeah, no live show next week, but still videos coming your way on the channel as we plan ahead for that. Just wanted to let y'all know. Thanks for tuning into the show. We'll catch you next time. Peace.